Thank you for joining this broadcast today. Today again, we are going to discuss a very important topic, a topic that is relevant in the adventure of life. Today we are going to discuss a topic that says the power of trust. The power of trust. One of the virtues that is going extinct in our generation today is the character of trust. Trustworthiness. People who are trustworthy are becoming few by the day. People who are trustworthy, people who are integrous, people who have integrity are becoming few with every new day. In our interactions with people every day, we've had experiences, you may have had experiences as well, of abuse of trust. We read stories, we hear stories of people who abused positions of trust, people who abused trust, abuse of relationships, betrayals of trust. We see cases of scams, failed marriages, failed businesses, because of incidents of abuse of trust, incidents of betrayal of trust. So today we are going to delve into this very important character trait that is fast ebbing in our generation. Trust is a spiritual virtue. It's a very important virtue that needs to be taught. Trust is a character trait that needs to be emphasized in families, in corporate organizations, in marriages, in our churches. We need to preach more on trust. Trust is key. It needs to be emphasized. It needs to be imbibed. It needs to be seen in our daily interactions with one another. And trust is so important because it helps to stabilize a system. Any system where there is lack of trust is bound to experience chaotic situations. Is bound to fail, or is bound to flop. Now, what is trust? How can we define trust in the light of our discussion? Trust is confidence in the reliability of a person's character. Trust is confidence in the reliability of a person's character. When you find somebody whose character is reliable, you have found a person who is trustworthy. Trust is having confidence in a person's stability in personality. Trust is reliance in a person's integrity. And that's one word that will feature in this broadcast prominently. The word integrity. Integrity. Integrity is fast losing its worth in life. Somebody said, integrity is the true nature of the intelligent. He said, it's a virtue that when you find a person who has it, it's one of the respected Christian virtues, one of the wonderful virtues of life. Integrity is stability in character. Integrity is stability in character. Integrity makes your character predictable. Integrity is predictability of character. Ability to say what a person can do per time based on experience. And that's also brings us back to the issue of definition of trust. Trust also means faith in somebody's personality. That I am sure that this person can do this. I am sure that this person cannot do this. Can people trust you to keep your word? That's one way to test ourselves. Can people trust you to keep your word? Can people trust you to keep to time? As simple as it may appear, ability to keep to time. Punctuality is evidence of integrity. A person's ability to keep to time. Punctuality is proof of commitment, proof of honor, proof of value. When you value something, you keep to time as it affects that thing. So integrity helps you to be punctual. Now, integrity is also crucial in our interactions with people in our business. If you are into business and you want people to repeat transactions with you, if you want people to tell others about you, you have to be integrous. You have to have a high sense of integrity. You need to build trust. You need to be trustworthy. Trust is not a one-off chance event. It takes time to build trust. And because it takes time to build trust, it is something that needs to be taught regularly. It is something that needs to be built over time. It is something you work on consciously. We must consciously make effort to live by integrity, to walk by integrity, to keep our word. Can people trust you with money? Can you be so trusted that when money is involved, you are able to keep the stability of your personality, the stability of your character, and deliver according to promise, and keep that trust? And that's one area people fail every day when it has to do with money. Money is an instrument that tests character. Money is something that helps to define, that helps to differentiate, that helps to describe a person when character of the individual is in issue. Trustworthy people are people who have proven stability of character over time. A trustworthy person is a person who has proven and shown that he has character, that he or she is stable in character over time, because it takes time to build trust. It takes integrity to build trust. It takes integrity to build trust. And integrity takes time to develop. Integrity makes a person's character predictable. Integrity stabilizes a person's character. Integrity is who you are when nobody is watching you. Integrity is what you will do when you know that nobody will ever find out what you did. Integrity is who you are in the secret, not who you are in public. Integrity is the real definition of your nature. What you will do in the private represents the same thing you will do in public. Integrity has been defined by somebody as the highest level of intelligence. Somebody defined integrity as the highest level of intelligence. It is possible to be intelligent and yet lack integrity. And that brings me to a point that is critical. Trust, integrity is superior to competence. Trust and integrity is superior to competence. That a person is competent is not sufficient in life. A person who is competent needs to add to that capacity the virtue of integrity. It is integrity that protects competence. It is integrity that stabilizes intelligence. Competence without the character of integrity and trust is a disaster that is waiting to happen. We've seen cases of people who are naturally competent, people who are naturally intelligent, but failed in life because they lacked character. Somebody said, competence without character is a disaster that will surely occur. Why? Because the character is what protects that competence in the person, is what protects that nature in the person. So it needs to be taught. We need to understand this all-time very important virtue of integrity and trust if you want to have an enviable future that God has ordained for us. So competence is important, but more important than competence, we need to build trustworthiness. If you want a future that is bright, if you want a future that is assured, we need to build confidence in people over our integrity, over our character, that will enable them to develop trust in us, irrespective of what we do in life. God is pleased with people who are trustworthy. God is pleased with people who are trustworthy. People who have built character over time. People who are ready to do the right thing even when it hurts them. People who are ready to do the right thing even when it will deny them of some things. That is the kind of character that pleases God. God is pleased with those who are trustworthy. God values trust. God values integrity. God values people who will keep their word irrespective of the result it will yield for them. God values people who are ready to do things according to His word, irrespective of what they will get, irrespective of what they will lose. God values people who are trustworthy. God is expecting you and I to be trustworthy in our homes, in our marriages to our spouse, in our places of work, in the assignments we are given in our places of work, in our relationship with our superiors and those who are our juniors in our places of work. God expects us to be integrous in our relationships with the government, in our relationship with our neighbors, in our relationship with other people's points and issues of trust. God is expecting us to be trustworthy. These are the real things that impress God, not much of what we call religiosity. God is pleased, God is expectant that we show forth this wonderful character of integrity, which enables Him to trust us, which enables other people to trust us. God is looking for the trustworthy. God is not looking for the competent. God is looking for the trustworthy. Inasmuch as God values competence, because competence is a trait of excellence. Competence is good, but God is not really looking for the competent. God is looking for the trustworthy, those whom He can trust to do things according to His prescription in His word, to do things according to His specification, not according to our natural fleshly desires. God is looking for the trustworthy and not necessarily the competent. I come back to that question again. Can God trust you with a responsibility? Can God trust us with a responsibility? Can God trust us that when He confers a responsibility on us, we will deliver it according to specification, we will deliver it according to within time? Can God trust us with money? Can God trust you with money? Such that when something that belongs to others are committed into your hands and it's money, you are able to do exactly what you are expected to do with it. That is integrity. That is what builds trust over time. That is what helps you grow in life, grow in your business fast. Can God trust you with other people's wives and husbands? Can God trust you with other people's children? Can God trust you with His own children? Or will you abuse that trust? Or will you keep your word and keep your integrity? If there is anything God is looking for in His children, He's looking for people who are trustworthy, people He can trust. And this is the reason I submitted earlier that this virtue of integrity, which builds trust, needs to be taught. It needs to be emphasized. It needs to be imbibed. It needs to be highlighted. It needs to be hyped at homes, in our workplaces, in our schools. Most people have not been taught. Most people are not being taught. We rarely hear such messages today because the generation we live in is a generation that is all out to get results without minding the procedure for arriving at that result. God is more pleased with the procedure than with the product. The real proof that we are justified in the end is how we got to the end. In the order of God, by God's prescription in His word, it is the means that determines the end. The philosophy of the end justifies the means is not of God. God's prescription is that it is the procedure, the process that justifies the end. In God's marking scheme, you must show all workings. You must show all workings. God is not mesmerized by the testimony of a new house. Anybody can build a house. God is not taken by surprise by the testimony of a new car. Anybody can buy a car. The testimony that God is looking for is how you got the money to buy the car. The testimony that pleases God is how you got the money to build a house. Did you do so through legitimate means? It is the process that justifies the result. It is the test that confirms the authenticity of the testimony. That is God's order of work. Integrity matters to God. Integrity matters in life. If you have children, take time to teach them integrity. As parents, as business managers, administrators, as government officials, as church leaders, as pastors or teachers or whatever, there should be room for the impartation, for the teaching of integrity. The need to be integrous in our transactions with others, the need to be integrous in our relationship with, the need to keep our word, the need to do the right thing, the need to stand up for what is just and justified before men. Wise people value trustworthy relationships. One proof that a person is wise is that the person is able to discern people around him who are trustworthy and to attach value to those relationships. Wise people value trustworthy relationships. A trustworthy person is a relationship that is worth keeping for life. When you find a trustworthy person, do all within your powers to treasure the person, to value that person. A person who is trustworthy is a person who deserves proximity with you. A person who is trustworthy is a person worthy of access to you. Trust gives access. People who are trustworthy give themselves access to a person's heart. One way to gain access to the heart of a person is to be trustworthy. When you find a person who is trustworthy, which has been proven over time, ensure you keep that relationship. It's a relationship worth keeping for life. One proof that God loves you is when God gives you a person who is trustworthy. One of the wonderful gifts of God is the gift of a trustworthy relationship. Most of what we refer to as the gifts of God, most of what we refer to as miracles are less in ranking to the gift of a friend who is trustworthy. And most people look down on such relationships. When you look down on a relationship from God, posted to your life, God is not pleased. Look around you, watch out for people who over time have proven stability in character, have proven worthy of your trust. People you can confide in, people you can unbundle your hearts without fear of their exposing your nakedness. People whom your heart connects with their heart. Such a person is a miracle, a wonderful miracle from God, more valuable than the material things we call miracles. The miracle of a trustworthy friend, the miracle of a trustworthy relationship. Such relationships are worth celebrating. Such relationships are worth making noise about. is a grand gift from God, the gift of a trustworthy person. Do an examination, an audit of your circle of friends. Do an audit of your circle of friends and find out people who are close to you, who have been close to you over time, and you found in them the capacity to be trustworthy. You have found in them the capacity to be integrous, that they have integrity. You can confide in them. You can trust them with your experiences. You can trust them with your secrets, and you are sure they will not abuse that trust. Such relationships are worth celebrating. Find out those people and do your best to appreciate them while they are alive. I have discovered in life that people who are trustworthy have the tendency to trust people easily. People who are trustworthy, people who have built the capacity of trust, they naturally trust others. They are quick to trust people. They have the propensity to trust people. They have the proclivity to open up their hearts to others. And this trust guide goes to such people. If you are a person who is trustworthy, be careful how you open your heart to others. There are a lot of people out there who abuse trust. There are a lot of people out there who break people's hearts, particularly those whose hearts are disposed to trusting others. Because when you are trustworthy, it's a description of your nature. It's a description of your personality. And because it's your nature, you tend to trust other people that way. That is not wise. We should be careful to discern who is trustworthy. Like I submitted earlier, a person who is trustworthy is a person whom you have proven over time, over a long period of time, over several experiences. It is not as though a trustworthy person cannot make a mistake. Never assume that a person you trust cannot make a mistake. Any human is liable to error. Every human being is liable to mistake. But a person who has character will not repeat a mistake that hurts you. A person who has character will not perpetuate in the wrong thing. He will not continue to do the wrong thing. Over time, he will realize that what the path is towing is not the path of integrity and return to the path of integrity. So be careful whom you open your heart to, particularly when you have the nature of integrity, the nature of trustworthiness. Another point we must note is that never introduce a person who trusts you to a person you do not trust. Be careful not to introduce a person you do not trust to a person who trusts you. There is every possibility that because someone trusts you, he will tend to trust anybody you introduce to him or her. So it's called transference of trust. Transference of trust. People tend to transfer trust they place on you to anybody you bring to them. So before you introduce anybody to another, make sure that the capacity of trust you have on the other person, the third party, is sure, so that he will not abuse the trust the referral has on you. Be careful who you introduce to another as your friend. Be careful who you call your friend. When you have integrity and people trust you, and you call another person your friend, people tend to transfer that trust to that person. Be careful who you call your friend. An English adage says, "Show me your friend, and I can tell you the kind of person you are." Show me your friend, and I can show you the kind of person you are. People transfer trust when you introduce somebody to them as a person who is trustworthy, as a person who is your confidant, as a person you trust. Thank you very much for watching this broadcast today. I encourage you to watch more of this video, the complete video, on our social media platforms on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. May God bless you. Thank you.